Welcome to the Erasmus Foundation podcast. My name is Paul Nugent. Are you looking for answers to life and its meaning? Then this may well be the very podcast you need to listen to. In a series of podcasts, we are going to look at the difficult questions of life and apply spiritual knowledge to find out the answers. Hello. Today we are going to look at the question, who is responsible for the coronavirus pandemic? And with me today, I have Hedley Griffin, who is a medium, in fact, is a clairaudio medium, who for many years now has channeled spirit for the foundation. And today, the spirit who is going to be speaking is Bedina. So without further ado, it's over to Bedina. Greetings, Bedina.
Greetings to you.
Now, I think we've heard from many sources about the pandemic, what caused it, who's to blame. So what is your take on the cause of the pandemic, Bedina?
Well, let me say first of all, without any doubt whatsoever, this has been caused by man. It is not by chance. It is not just a fluke of nature. It is something that has happened, which has purpose, which has meaning, and its roots, its cause is entirely down to the behaviour of man and how he has mistreated his world, and may I say also continues to do so. And as he continues to increase his misuse and the pollution he is causing, this disease is also increasing as a consequence.
Okay, so all this about China and coming out of a laboratory was just a lot of nonsense then?
It is rubbish.
Okay. So
that is politically motivated and has no founding whatsoever. This disease has been caused worldwide by the misuse worldwide by mankind. Not one single nation is to blame any more than any other.
So this pandemic is not over yet then, Bedina?
That is true. May I offer to say that it is expected to take place over a 7-year period. So you are within your second year.
Okay, so is there anything we can do to stop this from happening to us, from people getting the disease? Are masks, for example, useful? Or
Well, yes, possibly they are to some degree. But as you have been instructed and told within this foundation, the Erasmus Foundation, you have been told, and it has been explained to you, that a person's life is finite according to a pre-planned design, which is referred to in spirit as a tapestry. So the beginning and the end of the life is predetermined. So if it is part of a person's tapestry, that they are returned home to my land, where I am speaking from, then if it is to be the cause of this disease that has terminated this life, then that is how it is meant. That is how it has been designed by the great mind, that that life should end and the spirit return. But at the same time, people may catch this disease for whatever reason and recover, because that then is not how their life is to end. So there are choices for people to perhaps take sensible precautions to avoid catching the disease, even though perhaps it is not essentially meant that they were meant to have this disease. And certainly, if they do catch it, and it is not tapestried, then they will not return home. They will not die of the disease. It does still make some sense to take some precautions where possible.
Okay, but are we talking then that the vaccination program is a waste of time?
Well, I wouldn't say entirely, no. It is not for me to say. And also, if it gives some people some confidence, some reassurance in their life when fear abounds to such an extent throughout your world. And again, this should not be. Fear is an ugly ghost that sometimes has no grounding, has no meaning other than what has been invented in the minds of people. If this helps people to feel less fear, then perhaps that is a good thing. But it will not prevent a person returning home to my land in spirit, if that is how it is meant to be.
So what you're saying, Bedina, at this stage is that we're only 2 years into this 7-year cycle of this virus. May I ask what we should expect next, or is that for us to find out in due course?
Well, it is understood by mankind, generally speaking, that the virus mutates. And for some viruses, some diseases, I believe they may mutate, and as a consequence, they become weaker, and in time they dissipate. Although all viruses will still remain in some way or another within your earth, because that is how it is meant to be within the natural law. But this virus the nature of this virus, the way it has been programmed, is that as it mutates, it grows stronger and becomes more diverse in its behavior. And it will be in time, as it grows more and more in strength, that the consequences of being contaminated with this disease will cause people to return home in a shorter period than is happening at this time.
Okay. So we who have acceptance of the fact that our life, ends of our life, is tapestried, and we could go home with this disease or something else. Is there anything that anyone can do to alleviate the problem with this virus and help it on its way?
This is here because of man's behavior. Man has caused this. And it requires that man will change his behavior. Now, the way it has been pre-planned by the great mind of this period that your earth is within requires that events that are to unfold will make mankind adapt and change his ways. Thereby, in time, it will not provide the environment, the circumstances for this virus to propagate and to exist in such strength. And therefore, it will disappear. Not completely, not entirely, but its effect will be reduced greatly.
So what sort of behavioral patterns are we talking about that man will need to change, would you say?
Well, mankind already knows a great deal of this. With the pollution in his world that he has caused. But some of this is not being discussed openly and truthfully as it should be. As an example, it is known that the fumes from your vehicles cause serious problems with people's breathing. That is just one example. But those fumes are not only carcinogenic, but they are also responsible for partly creating the environment to allow these viruses to increase and to propagate. More importantly, more directly, the pollution of your waters within the seas, within your rivers, everywhere, and upon the land is causing exactly, directly, the perfect environment to allow the virus to grow and increase in strength. It has been related to the processing of your foods as well. In particular, the way your meat is prepared and processed. And it is very evident when abattoirs and factories producing meat products have suddenly needed to close down because of an outbreak of coronavirus amongst the people working within those buildings. Now that has been released on your news items, on your televisions, but no one has mentioned the relationship between the functions of the processes within these factories and part of the food process, the meat processing system, and this disease. But it is related, and it is very evident, as shown in this way. Those are just two examples, but also some of the chemical reactions, processes, which have also been leaked into the waters around the world, have also contributed very strongly to the development of this disease. The increase in temperature is another factor, and there are also other factors involved as well. This virus has come about by its contact, its development, its process of mutation with other viruses, including HIV, including flu, and also SARS and other related viruses, have all contributed together to cause what is happening now.
It's a difficult time for people on the earth at the moment, Bettina, isn't it? It's a lot of people.
It is.
A lot of people talk about these times as being very difficult. A lot of people that I talk to and communicated about this virus, I think deep down, a lot of them realize it's not over. And I think subconsciously, or whatever level that is, people realize there's more to come. But it is, for us, a sad time. But obviously, there's a reason for this. And with every negative, there's a positive, is there not, Bettina?
Indeed, there is. It is a difficult time. It is a very challenging time for mankind. But as I have said, and I must repeat this, this is of the consequence of man's behavior and the way he has performed all things, many things, in conflict with the natural law. And no one can do this without some consequence, as is evident now. But if man was left to continue the path he is on, his planet would be destroyed. He would destroy it. And that cannot be. Civilizations in the past, on your earth and elsewhere, have been destroyed because it was necessary for people, spirit, man, however you say it, to experience and to learn from the mistakes of the past. But this time, it is not expected that your earth will be destroyed. But as a consequence of what is happening, there will be changes, as I say, which will affect mankind and will induce him to change his ways. And that, again, as I said, in time will alleviate the pandemic as it is.
So, Bedina, we're 2 years into this cycle. Now, how will the Earth be at the end of the 7 years? How will people be then, would you say? Obviously, there's not a lot of time, 5 years.
No.
An awful lot of change could occur in that time,
Yes.
by the sounds of things.
It will be much more peaceful. Of course, the population will be reduced. People will be looking for new ways of adapting to life in a new age, which is to come in the future. The 6th civilization. You are in the 5th at present. And as mankind evolves and looks to understanding himself more and working with the natural law, with spiritual tuition, knowledge and understanding, which will transform your world and bring it into God's sanity. And as this occurs, mankind will evolve and develop so much more. There are to be new energies, new discoveries in medicine, and great changes, very positive ones, for the future, as it must be. The natural law evolves and changes all the time. And mankind changes and develops all the time. So there is much to look forward to. But unfortunately, for this time, it is a time the earth is going to be going through some difficulties and challenges, which will guide and help man find the direction that he is to follow.
Okay. Now, one last thing, I think, on a positive note, many of us, as you say, will be going home.
Mhm.
And there's nothing that anyone can do about that unless the great mind changes his mind.
No.
So, could you, on a positive note, could you paint a little picture for us of what going home means?
Well, that would take some time, perhaps, to explain. But what I may say is that where I am in spirit, we consider is the reality. And life on the earth for spirit, for people inhabiting a humanoid form, that is the fantasy. And on returning to the reality, you are returning to your true home, where you come from. And for many people, for most people within the earth, the memory of that is closed by the activities of the brain, the physical. But the mind, which is your spiritual content, that is the part, the true part of you. That is the reality. And that is what you have, what you are in spirit. And you return to that. There is no pain. It is a place of work, of wonder, of wondrous things, of many, many things. And returning home is a time of great joy and much, much more. It would take too long to tell you more than this. But please may I say, we have concern as all spirit and the great mind has for people of the earth. The difficulties that mankind is facing at this time. But this is a time of maturity. It is a time of change. And pain is refining. And it teaches much, which is why man lives on the planet Earth, the university of life, where he comes to learn all that he may experience for a time, a short time, really, for him then to have evolved more, developed more spiritually as a result of that experience, and to return home, having gained much, having eventually, after many lives, having seen all, done all, and been all, until he may become so senior, so evolved, so aged, with knowledge and wisdom in great abundance, that it no longer requires that that spirit has to come to the earth to take lives, to progress any further. It is done, and that spirit then stays at home, may go elsewhere to develop and evolve, but may no longer be required to come to the earth to experience a life for their own development. They might do it to help at a particular time for the development of and support of other spirits, yes. But that is another thing.
Thank you very much, Padina. That's been very good to hear. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
Other than to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and to give some response to questions I'm sure many people have at this time within your earth. And please, I just wish to say, your God, the great mind, has knowledge and wisdom beyond mankind's understanding. But know that the great mind has concern in great strength for his children and all that is occurring. You are not alone, and spirit are there to help and support in many, many ways. So take this that I have said and keep it close within your being, that the knowledge and the understanding is held within you, and you would know on returning home to my land, as all must at the appointed time.
Thank you so much, Padina. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Good.
The Erasmus Foundation is a spiritual teaching and healing centre based in Laxfield, Suffolk, in the United Kingdom. We have a web page, www.erasmus-foundation.org, or email us info@erasmus-foundation.org. Thank you for listening.